Hey, we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So, we're excited to announce that our first guest for the We Are the One campaign is Dr. Lia, who is an educator and behavioral specialist with
Yeah,
a
yeah.
PhD
Welcome,
in
everybody. Welcome to the
psychoneurology.
stream.
Yeah, and founder
Yeah,
of the Atlas Wellbeing Group. Sorry,
before
Ryan?
before we formally introduce the stream, let's also introduce ourselves, bud.
Oh, sorry, I got too excited. I got too excited to have the guest. So,
Yeah,
hi, I'm
dude.
Natalia.
Hi,
Good
my name
evening,
is
everybody.
Ryan, and this is Neo Retro 1059's first live stream. So I'm super excited about this one. This is, of course, part of our hashtag We Are the One campaign,
Yeah.
which is all about bringing the community together. And because it is, I mean, it is COVID-19 is still in full effect. It is still a lockdown from where I'm at least. And for the greater part of Metro Manila and the Philippines, we're still under ECQ or MECQ moving forward. So we thought it would be a great way for us to actually talk about mental health tips, coping amidst a pandemic. Also, our guest will be talking about healing techniques in just a bit, right, Natalia?
Yeah, so Dr. Leah, just to put things into context, is an
Hmm.
educator and behavioral specialist with a PhD in psychoneurology and founder of the Atma Prama Wellness Group, she's also known as the Happiness Doctor. And Dr. Leah has helped me through so much and has helped me see the light through joining her workshops and, the healing techniques that we're going to hear in a bit. So we hope you enjoy that.
Yay! Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. I'm super
Yeah,
down.
this is good.
So,
Yeah.
without further ado, let's bring her in. Natalia, do the intro, do the honors.
Yeah.
All right, let's all welcome to the show, Dr. Lia Bernardo. Hi, Doc
There
Leah.
you go. Hi. Thanks for having me here.
No,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for saying yes.
Of course.
We are so excited. I'm so excited. Off the air, I was talking to Doc Lee and I was telling her that we actually have a common friend. And it's so funny because the world is so small and that we kind of know a lot of people. What's the term for that, Doc Lee? I mean, if you know, is it 6 degree of
It's
separation?
it's the 6 degrees of separation, but in the Philippines it's one or two. Everyone's sort of intertwined.
That is so true. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you so much, Doc Leah, for joining us here at Neo Retro 1059's live stream. We are live on
Thank you for
Facebook
having
and we're also live on YouTube. So for everybody who's tuned in right now, if you have any questions, again, like what Natalia said a while ago during the intro, we will be talking about mental health care tips with Doc Leah. We'll also be talking about healing techniques in just a bit. But if you have any questions at all, we are more than, of course, happy to ask Doc Leah for you. We'll put your questions up on the stream. So don't be shy. I want this to be as interactive as possible. And I'm sure Natalia and Doc Leah feels the same as well. Before we actually go to the start of the interview, Doc Leah, with all of the podcast interviews that we've done for Neo Retro 1059, we always start with this question, which is, how are you? Just because the world has changed so much. It feels like every day is, I mean, just surviving every day is already a victory. So, Doc Leah, how are you?
Exactly, Ryan. I mean, how are you went from a generic greeting to such a loaded one because of everything that we've all been through. And this is how it's a great way to start this because I'd like to encourage everyone to please tell us how are you, because and please don't say good because well, if you're feeling good, I'm happy for you, but I'd rather hear what you're really feeling. Like if it's good, what kind of good? Are you elated, or are you just getting by, or are you having a hard time? And it's okay to have a hard time. And if you are having a hard time, let's get a little more specific so that I can address your needs, because this is a time where people are learning to be at home with their emotions. I think this is the greatest gift of this time because there's always a gift to everything. And for this particular time, the gift has been being comfortable enough with yourself and the emotions that you feel because I think there's no other time in the history of our person however old you are where you feel everything in a span of one day. Like you can go through a whole gamut of emotions in just one day. So tell us how you are. And I'm okay today. i'm
Well, that
i'm
I'm
really
happy.
happy today.
Good to know. Yeah. How are you coping with the COVID-19 pandemic?
I show up because for me, the way I cope is because this gets to me too, and
Mhm.
I help people for a living to get through this, and so for me, what gives me the greatest strength is showing up for others, and I show up for others so that I can show up for myself, and that's been a great way for me to cope. So I take care of me so I can take care of others.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's such a wonderful statement, and I think it's so overlooked. Just because I
Mm.
don't know if you will agree to this, Doc Lee. I feel like here in the Philippines we have this savior complex that I don't know if it's common amongst Filipinos, but remember like whenever we go on airplane rides, right? They always tell us, okay,
Yes,
if
exactly.
there's an emergency, put an oxygen mask on
On
yourself first,
yourself
and then
first.
help others. But I'm just I feel like self-love and all of that like taking care of yourself sometimes can be misconstrued as selfishness here in, well, I'm not sure about other parts of the world, but here in the Philippines I feel like we have such savior complexes sometimes. And I don't
Mm.
know if you'd agree, Doc Leah, but I'm so happy to hear that coming from you.
I do agree completely. A lot of the times, my students, their first question to me, but isn't self love selfish? And my answer is always give. Please give as much as you can. But don't give until you're empty. And the only way you can give as much as you can without getting depleted is to give to yourself first. Give the overflow, give the excess. And that way, when you give, it also comes from complete authenticity because there's nothing lacking in you when you give to another, when you're full.
That I agree.
Yeah.
I'm learning within the first 5 minutes of this interview.
Oh
I'm
my, Ryan.
Where is my notebook? I should be taking down notes. But you know what? A while ago during the intro, Natalia said something that kind of piqued my interest, and she said that you are known, Doc Leah, as the happiness doctor. Um, how did that title come about, Doc Leah?
It was an article in Lifestyle Asia where they profiled me. It was written by Risa Regala Garcia, and the title was The Happiness Doctor. And so I called her up and I said, I like that because it completely encompasses everything I do. Plus, whenever I'm in a room full of people, and right now, everyone listening who wants to be happier, I'm sure everyone who's listening will react and say me, and it's something that every human being wants but nobody really teaches you how, and the how is so important. And so that's how I became the happiness doctor.
Amazing story. Um, when I was talking to Natalia off the air, when we were planning this, and she goes, "Oh, she's actually known as the happiness doctor," and I was like, "Okay, I'm down. Like, I wanna interview her already."
See,
Yeah.
It works. It really works. I could.
everyone wants to be happier.
You bring
Yeah,
such a light,
Natalia, you were
Tita.
saying something.
Sure. You bring such a light spirit to everything in the room. Like your workshops. I remember you did a workshop called like a self-love workshop. Do you still do that? Or can you tell the
Yes.
listeners as well like what that entails?
I give workshops online now. So the upcoming one will be the forgiveness workshop, which is something I've been teaching for what, 8 years now. And it's a life skill. Forgiveness is a life skill. And it really is one of the greatest gifts of self love to be able to forgive. And at the end of the day, you'll find that true forgiveness is not even about the other person. It's about being able to forgive yourself. And so I give online workshops, retreats, and because we've had to cancel our face-to-face retreats, so that's been disappointing. We had one scheduled for September, and we had to cancel that. So with everything that's going on now, I am available online, and I also am accessible through our Telegram chat group and through Instagram. So I make myself quite available for people who need help. We have a lot of paid content, but we also offer a tremendous amount of free content out there for those who need help.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Great.
that's
Yeah.
wonderful of you, Doc Leah. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
while we're talking about what Doc Leah does and she's making herself available for everybody, I think this is a good time for us to actually talk about the first thing on our list, which is mental health care tips during the pandemic. Um, and Doc Leah, I want to ask you, what are some of the common concerns that you've observed amongst Filipinos during this lockdown? Maybe I can start from my own personal experience. I don't know
Yes.
if this is something that you've heard from your students or your patients, Doc Leah, but there's this feeling of being irritable. Like I am,
Yeah.
I think I would like to consider myself
Yeah.
a very patient person, but since the pandemic started, grabe, Doc Leah, my patience went from 100 to practically zero. And I'm feeling anxious all the time. I feel like it's borderline, like if I'm becoming like as much as possible I want to control situations. Is this something that you've heard from other people as well, and what are the other common I guess things that people are going through amidst the pandemic?
Well, it's universal because we're in completely uncertain times. And so you hang on to things that you can control. And so you want to be able to control more things. And the anxiety is coming from getting worried about your future because it's so uncertain. And so basically what it is that it's flow, it's creating flow, it's being in the present. I know it's easier said than done, but we need to put in the effort to actually do it for our sakes and for the sake of the people around us, because if we're irritable all the time, and yes, you will lose it from time to time, and that's okay, and that's when you ask for forgiveness and you forgive yourself. But it can't go on a regular basis because your relationships will get destroyed if
Right.
you continue that way. And so my advice is always face that camera inwards and look to yourself, not to get better, number one, and not to fix yourself. Okay? Because we have this thing where you say, teka muna, ayusin ko muna yung sarili ko. I'd like to encourage people to stop saying that, because for me, the foundation ought to be you are not broken and there is nothing wrong with you. And before people start getting all up and, you know, um, and reactive about that, it's because that's the biggest problem now. Just think about it. We always think there's something wrong with us. And so, what if, and I'm posing this to you now, what if your only job was to look inwards and like yourself just the way you are? Do not judge yourself. Do not expect anything from yourself except just the way you are, then we will disconnect from having to do things all the time, having to achieve things all the time, and just being okay with yourself. Because I promise you, when you're in a good state emotionally and when your
Mhm.
well being is taken care of, you will deliver results. You will create because you're feeling good. But try creating when you're not feeling good. It's next to impossible. So you cannot deliver what you're supposed to be delivering or obligations or responsibilities if you're not okay inside.
Right.
Yes, you can deliver through your intellect, but when you're not feeling good about yourself, your intellect, even your intellect won't work. And so take care of your insides first. Take care of who you are, not with the purpose again of fixing yourself, but with the purpose of liking who you are and accepting who you are with all your kinks, with all your, I say it in Tagalog because it sounds so much nicer. May tao bang walang sayad? Diba?
Totoo.
And,
Like,
and,
hands are way
and,
up.
right? And so just accept yourself. We all have kinks. We all have stuff that some of us get irritated quickly. Some of us cry really quickly. That doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make you defective. None of us are. We just need to be okay with ourselves and just start from there.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Doc Leah.
I like what you
If I may
said
do
that.
a sorry, you were, Dina,
No,
go Natalia, go.
yeah, I like what you said when you said, we should take care of ourselves and like ourselves. And obviously now amidst the pandemic, during these trying times, how can we take care of ourselves and like ourselves amidst the pandemic?
I have a formula for that. It's called raising frequencies. You raise your
Wait,
frequency.
it sounds complicated. I'm not prepared for math.
No,
I
it's
can't do this.
super easy. Okay, super, super easy. I've made it so easy, anyone can do it. It's called raising your frequency. So let's define what frequency is first.
Okay.
Frequency is what you feel about yourself. So it's like your internal weather vane. What are you feeling now about you? Okay. So and then you raise your frequency no matter what. No matter what's happening in your externals, no matter what drama is taking place in front of you, and no matter what's going on in the news or in the country or in your environment, you raise your frequency. How do you do that? The formula is so easy, and Natalia knows this really well. It's move, learn, grow, create. Every day, do some form of movement. What kind of movement? Walking the dog is movement. Up and down the stairs is movement. Dancing like nobody's watching is movement. Try dancing to a, a really nice upbeat song with a good message and just blast it and start dancing. I
Mm,
promise you, you'll already feel good.
like
So,
Adele. Adele.
yes.
I'm kidding.
No, not naman like that. That's so sawe, no?
Dua
But
Lipa.
if you're happy and you put yourself in a happy position, then you're able to now generate that joy from within. And then you have learn. What happens when you learn something new? Your self-esteem develops, correct?
Mhm.
And so it can be a life skill that you're learning. Like listening to this, you're developing several life skills already. And that's learn or read a book or do something that will enhance your career, a new skill for your career. Grow. It's impossible to do this without a spiritual practice. So, whatever your spiritual practice is, do at least 3, 4, 5 minutes of that. That's all we're asking for. Um, and create. What are you doing today to create your own heaven on earth? How are you being kind to yourself today? And I know it sounds huge, like what am I doing today to create my own heaven on earth? But sleeping for an extra hour will feel like heaven on earth, right? So it can just be very simple things. But if you move, learn, grow, create every day, it's not that you'll never get sad. The sadness will still be there because this has happened, but it's not. It flips it. It flips the sadness towards a higher frequency. There, that's better said that way.
I love what you said, Doc Lee. I love how you said everything is. It doesn't have to be the big things. It can be the simple things. Because I feel like, as
Absolutely.
far as self care is concerned, a lot of people have this notion. At least the people I've met, na parang pang mayaman lang yan. O
Of course
parang
not.
I don't have time for that. Or for some weird reason, and actually, let me rephrase myself. It's not weird. There is this misconception that self care and self love is supposed to be like the expensive things, going to the spa or giving yourself like a 5,000 peso worth of dinner or something like that. I love what you said, that it can be the small things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you notice during this pandemic, people started taking care of plants or started baking and started cooking. That's self care.
Right, right.
That's
Jumping off
nurturing.
jumping off of what you said, Doc Leah, how about you? Did you learn any new skill amidst the pandemic? Naging
Oh,
plantita ka rin
yes,
ba? Did you
many,
start working
many.
out? Oh, do share.
Okay, I'm going to be a plant based chef. That's my greatest achievement during the pandemic. I found
A
myself a teacher. And
plant-based chef.
yes, so I'm getting certified as a chef now for plant based cuisine because it's always been a dream of mine. So
Congratulations.
I'm doing that. I also learned how to read tarot cards. So you
Oh,
see the spectrum.
No way! I
And
learned
yeah,
how to read tarot cards as well.
how do you
My
read
mom thinks it's
tarot
witchcraft.
cards? How do
I
you read
love
tarot
it.
cards? That's so cool.
I learned it. I've always read cards. I've always given classes on angel card readings, and I do a healing modality called Millennium, which is card based. So I love cards and I love oracle cards. So I've always been. I have a collection of cards, but I've always been afraid, or I've always thought of tarot as I have to memorize 70 plus cards.
Yeah.
Forget it, right? And but during the pandemic, I said, you know what? I'm going to learn tarot. That's going to be the I made it like a gift to myself, not as an achievement or not as something to say that I accomplished. I said, my gift to myself is going to be able to read the tarot. And I watched YouTube channels. I got myself a teacher, and I'm so
Yes.
happy. I'm doing readings now, and I'm so
What,
happy with it.
what's your deck,
So
Doc Leah? What's your deck?
I have
Like, what's
plenty.
you
I
have
have
plenty.
plenty. I
No
have
way.
a lot.
And suddenly this has become a tarot reading live stream. But the last question on this one, because I got the Wild Unknown deck as my first deck. Do
Oh
you remember
wow.
your first deck, Doc Leah?
I started with the Rider Waite deck. I
Ah,
started with the traditional deck, but just yesterday I have a new deck that arrived. It's called the 5 Cent Tarot. It's
Ooh.
amazing. Yeah, it's an indie deck. And my current favorite is called the Dream Keeper's Tarot, made
yes,
by Liz Houston. Oh, you're familiar with that,
yes,
Ryan?
Doc,
I'm so
yes.
impressed.
I feel like Doc Leah. Okay, Natalia, you can now leave the stream. We'll talk about tarot. I'm kidding.
No offense.
This is gonna be a tarot. If we continue, Doc Leah, this is gonna be a tarot live stream. So let's not do
Okay,
that.
that's fine.
Taking a look at the questions, or rather the comments on our Facebook page, we do have a couple saying good evening to Jonathan S. Leonor,
Yeah.
who's saying that his spelling sucks because he called me DJ Ian.
No,
It's
that's
fine.
fine.
But we
DJ
do have
Formo.
a question
Yeah.
from Christian Formoso,
And that's
who's
one of
asking,
the on
Doc
to?
Leah, what can you hold on to
Can I
when
repeat
you're
the
feeling
question?
hopeless? Because we can't seem to see the end to this pandemic.
Oh, yes, that's such a valid question. Because really, I ask myself that every day. It's like, when is this going to end? And then I remind myself to just center myself and focus on today. When you focus on today, when you focus on the now, you'll find that you'll have a better grasp of things because the now is the only thing that's real. How do you get to the now? Be grateful. Gratitude is the tool we use to bring your brain to the present. Okay, so when your brain is focusing on thoughts of the future, you're going to start running anxiety. And we call it running because you're running brain patterns on developing anxiety. Okay, so to jump out of that hamster wheel, focus on what you're grateful for. And I don't want you to focus on the big things like of course, we're grateful for the big things. We're grateful for the people that love us. We're grateful for our families, but that's not the exercise. The exercise is being grateful for what you can see, what you can feel, what's tangible, what's in front of you. I'm grateful for my phone because my phone, in spite of the pandemic, I'm able to connect to all my friends all over the globe. I'm grateful for Zoom. Like we keep knocking Zoom, but it's helped us a lot survive this pandemic. So I'm grateful for the food I prepared for my family today. So it's like being grateful for what's in front of you. I'm grateful for Netflix all the time. And so and you see the thought process rather than knocking yourself down for watching too many shows on Netflix, be grateful for it. Be grateful that you have a job if you're still working because that's huge. So many people have lost their jobs. And so when you switch to gratitude, you'll find that you're already feeling better. As I'm talking, you're already running through what you're grateful for, and you'll find that you're already feeling better. And to
Right.
sustain that, do it again and do it again and do it again until your brain gets used to that patterning that you will always focus on what you're grateful for. And if you fall off the wagon and start feeling hopeless again, it's okay. Just say, okay, time to get up. Because you will have cycles. And I think what's bothering a lot of people is the expectation that you have to be happy all the time. That then if you slump, you're thinking, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. We're human beings, and so our feelings go this way. And so um, just be compassionate and kind enough to yourself to say, okay, today's not a very good day. I'm just going to sleep early before I snap at someone. And be kind enough to yourself to do that, right? And kind enough to the
Right.
people around you to do that.
Right.
And that's
I
fine. That's
I completely agree. I have a friend, Doc Leah, whose life's mantra is have the attitude of gratitude all the time. Like that's her Instagram bio, that's her Twitter bio, attitude of gratitude. I want to go back to what you said a while ago, Doc Leah, because you were talking about coping amidst the pandemic, specifically as far as job loss is concerned. And for a lot of our listeners, they might have experienced that because, like you said, it's such a sad thing, but at the same time, it's something that's become prevalent amidst the pandemic. Companies had to close. Some companies had to downsize as far as their staff is concerned. What's your advice for people who are going through that specific journey, being let go of?
okay. First of all, we need to find another form of income. Okay. And this is where the proliferation of home businesses thrived during the pandemic, where people started selling specialty products from their home, even if it's just one or two things. A lot of that has helped a lot of people. So, in other words, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just need to find it. I know I'm being vague because it's really different per person. I can't really give a a general advice except the fact that you have talents, and those talents, cull those talents and find a way to monetize those talents. I know some people who were in the events industry, and that was the first hit, event managers, and now they're working online as what do you call this? Online assistants. There's a word for it.
Virtual
Uh,
assistant, I think, or
Virtual
executive
assistant.
assistant.
There, and so they're not earning as much, but they're earning. So, in other words, the people have reinvented themselves. I have friends who are writers who are now working online to abroad. So because it's on the internet, and they're building websites and they're doing text for um, publishing and all of that. So find your talent and then find your tribe, because the internet right now is full of of groups of people that have shared talents and shared interest, and get online and get into those groups because those people can help you. It's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy. It really isn't, but there are solutions, and let's focus on the solutions. And even if the solutions do not give you the same results as your previous income, I always say 1 peso is better than zero. And and so we and then we rebuild together,
Okay.
because it's a dangerous problem.
Wonderful advice.
Thank you for
I
that, Lilia.
specifically like what you said, Doc Leah, which is 1 peso is better than nothing. Because sometimes we tend to, like what you said, if you're an events manager, you probably will be earning more than as compared to, let's say, a virtual assistant. But sometimes because we tend to forget that we do need food on the table, that
Absolutely.
at this point in time, if you can get a job, that's already a victory. That's already a blessing.
I like that
Absolutely.
it teaches you to be grateful and to just take advantage and stay present at the moment at all times. So I really
Yes.
also like, I will affirm you and Ryan for saying that, because I do like that. There are times where I get irritable and I'm like, ugh. But then, like you taught me, you always have to stay grateful at everything. But before I forget, I have a question, Doc Leah, and that's healing techniques. For most of us who are unaware, what does the term healing technique mean?
I would say that when you heal parts of yourself that you previously disowned.
Okay.
And and so when you go into healing, you're really healing your perception of yourself and perception of what happens in your life. And this is why I'm such a firm believer on self-love, because while you have other healing techniques like Reiki and Theta and Access bars, I mean, I believe in all of that, and I'm the number one believer in homeopathic and acupuncture. But you put all of that together, and you get, what do you get? You get wholeness. You bring wholeness to yourself. And for me, having worked many, many years as an energy healer, I have found that the solution is really self love, first and foremost. That there's no way you're going to find happiness and wholeness without going inwards first. And however way you get through that, either through a Reiki session, or even sometimes, when we get sick and it entails an operation or you have to go get hospitalized, it brings you into awareness that you have to make changes within yourself and within your environment and within your body and what you're eating and how you're treating your body. And so if you notice, every single traumatic, I'm trying to not use the word trauma, but that's the word that's coming out. Every single traumatic moment that has happened to you has been a catalyst towards your emotional growth. And that
Right.
emotional growth happens because you stop and you look inwards. Bottom line is you loved yourself a little bit more. And so at the end of the day, for me, the greatest healing of all is just liking and loving who you are so that you can direct yourself towards the life that you really want. And then you bring in the other healing modalities like tarot cards and angel cards and Reiki and all of that, um, to heal the different aspects of yourself, but knowing that all the answers are already in you.
Got it. So to be clear, Doc Leah, because here I thought going into this live stream that healing tech, like a healing technique, is one specific process. What you're saying, Doc Leah, is there are many processes as far as healing techniques are concerned.
Absolutely. And everything we do for ourselves becomes a healing for ourselves because it brings us back to our wholeness. And that's what healing is. Healing is looking inwards so that you can come back to who you really are, your authenticity, your
Mhm.
wholeness. And what's the biggest hindrance to that? Shame. The shame that we run, the masks that we wear, the guilt that we generate. Um, and healing brings you back to your center, back to yourself.
So, how
Got
do we
it.
practice these techniques to release shame, as you said?
Love yourself, self love. And that's always my answer. And how do you love yourself? Raise your frequency and make sure you start with self nurturing. Everything else will teach you, but if you want to embark on starting on self love, start with nurturing yourself, body, mind, and spirit. What do you put into your body? What do you watch on TV that's going into your brain? What are you reading? Who are you socializing with? Who are you engaging in with? Or what are you engaging in? And all of this contribute to your nourishment of self because it's the body, mind, and spirit that you're nurturing. So it starts with that. It starts with being able to receive from yourself what you need, not looking for it outside of yourself. Like it's not a spouse or it's not money or it's not a house or a job that's going to bring you happiness. It's you. I mean, those things are nice to have, and yeah, it make you happy for the time being, but for you to have deep true happiness and sustained happiness, it needs to come from you.
Got
That's
it.
wonderful.
Thank you, Doc Leah.
Thank
Another
you.
thing that I wanted to bring up during this live stream, Doc Leah, because I hear this a lot amongst my circle of friends. They keep on using this word trigger. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm definitely. I'm sure that you've heard of it, Doc Leah.
Of course.
Like when they hear when they listen and tune into the news, like nakaka-trigger naman yung news ngayon. Or
Yeah.
when they see something negative, they're like, ah, nakaka-trigger naman yan. Let's change the environment. For most of us who are not familiar with the word trigger, what does that mean, Doc Leah?
Trigger means it hits a nerve. It hits a part of you that you're not addressing, is exactly what it is. Okay. So um, it's, I don't like the word trigger. I like the word alarm. It
Love.
alarms in you what needs to be addressed in you. Except right now, people are like using it to make something bad when it's not. Everything exists to serve you. And the first thing I tell my patients is stop watching the news, please, because that will really put you into a tailspin that you won't be able to get out of. And it's like swimming in quicksand. So my analogy for that is create a swimming pool for yourself with the perfect water, the perfect temperature, the perfect depth. And if you're creating that for yourself, even the people you love the most in your life, if they decide to jump into your swimming pool with dirty feet, what's the first thing you're going to tell them, no matter how much you love them? Wash your feet first, right? So we call this vibrational hygiene. You curate your environment. You curate, not create, you curate what you watch. You curate what your brain is digesting. And and then you take accountability for where you put yourself. It's not the news's fault. It's you watching the news that's making you feel bad. The news is the news.
Right, right. If, for example, Doc Lee, I get alarmed by watching the news or something that
Then
happened, and then
switch it
I get
off.
alarmed. What are
Switch it off.
some practical tips that I can do? Do you have breathing exercises for this? Do you have some sort of process?
Yes, we do. It's move, learn, grow, create, and raise your frequency. But if you keep watching the news, you're just going to get rattled each
Got
and
it.
every time.
So curate is the key.
And so you need to curate. So like if now let's say you and I are friends and we're having dinner and you say something that makes me go, "Oh my god." And then I try to villainize you, I'm not taking responsibility for my side of the fence. But a responsible person will now say, you know, when Ryan said that, it made me feel uncomfortable. Why? Why is that something in me that I need to address? Because we're all just mirrors of each other. But it's the perception that determines whether you're going to be emotionally mature or immature about it, right?
Right.
I
And
love.
I think a lot of us have the tendency as well to be emotionally immature, or at least, like, again, I just go back to my circle of friends because I'm at that age where maybe ego is affected, maybe you're defensive when you get alarmed by something. So I
I
think
think
yes, Doc
I
Leah,
think it's just the lack of knowing what to do. Because
I
once
agree.
you learn what to do, you know, happy people are happy because they know how to be happy. Unhappy people are unhappy because they don't know how to be happy. And so when
Mm.
you educate them on what to do, you'll find that they will do it because the brain is naturally wired to choose joy over pain. It's just you're not giving them, they don't have the option to choose something else. They're going with what they already know. And people label it as toxic, negative. Why label it? I mean, if it serves you or it doesn't serve you. And if it's not serving you, find a way that will serve you. Change the perspective. Learn how to be happy. And that's the greatest investment you can give to yourself.
Yeah.
I love that statement.
Thank
Learn
you,
to be
Natalia.
happy.
Yeah. Another popular term I noticed is trauma. Like I'm healing from trauma. I'm healing from past experiences.
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh at the trauma. I'm laughing because it's like everybody's keyword now is trauma.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like that's trauma. Like I went through an experience. Oh my God, that's traumatic. Something like that, right? So
Okay.
how what for people who don't really understand what the term is called, what does trauma actually mean? And what are techniques to help? cure the trauma?
Okay, rather than explain what trauma means, because the minute I do that, people will latch on to that meeting and then start running trauma again. Okay,
Mm.
so rather than explain what trauma means, I'm going to say something that a lot of people are not going to like. Okay, I'm going to say this: name me a human being without trauma. Name me a human being that has not gone through extreme emotional pain in their life. Okay, and a lot of people are not going to like this statement. And my answer to that is, again, if you take the time, the effort to love yourself, to nurture yourself, to accept yourself, and to come from your sovereignty, you will find that what you previously labeled as trauma, that's not going to disappear because it's an experience that you've already had, but you're able to now turn that story around, and you can now be the hero of your story versus being the victim of that story, or telling that story of trauma or reliving that trauma in your life. I'm highly simplifying this, because we have cases of abuse and particularly physical, emotional, and sexual abuse where it's a little bit more complicated, but not impossible to do this. And it just needs a little more time. But that's exactly what it is. It's running a story where you're the victim of your own story versus running a story where you are the hero of your own story.
Got it. So it's like taking control of your narrative.
There you go. Yes. But you
Got
can't
it.
take control of your narrative unless you've lived it. How do you live it? Love yourself. Make that move, make that decision to remember that it's who you truly are. It's when you decide to come from your authenticity, you will learn to love yourself and not be afraid of who you are anymore.
Thank you for that, Dr. Elia.
You're welcome.
Taking a look at the comment section right now, we got, I think, a common friend for the two of you guys, Doc Lee and Natalia. Bobby Dion said, "Hi, Leah, and yes to gratefulness."
Oh, hi, Bobby.
Let's see. We also got Juan Miguel Gamosha, who's saying good evening to everybody. Good evening to you. So, if you guys have any questions, I think we have enough time to answer some of your questions. So, again, just comment down below, and we'll be the ones to ask Doc Leah. We'll put your question up. While waiting for maybe one or two more questions, Doc Leah, another thing that I noticed amidst the pandemic is that are people are being affected by the isolation, because a lot of people are now forced to be by themselves, or if not, you also have those people who are living alone and hindi na sila nakakauwi sa kanila because you can't commute anymore, you can't go out of the city anymore, you can't go home to the provinces. So for those people who are struggling with isolation, Doc Leah, what tips or advice could you give?
Again, look inwards. One of my definitions, well, not mine, but psychoneurology's definitions of happiness is the amount of time you can spend on your own, enjoying the pleasure of your own company. And so it's an invitation again to look inwards. But I'm going to follow that up with a big but. Okay, human beings are not meant to be alone. Human beings are not meant to be isolated. So while you do need coping skills to be able to do this for a prolonged period of time, because of the fact that this is not normal. And when people tell me, I've already accepted this as my new normal, I tell them, please don't, because this is not normal and this is not the way we're supposed to be living. We just need to make the most of it while we're here, and the most that you can make of it is really to discover who you are inside, to really like who you. I'll go back to it again because that's the advocacy that I do. For me, the solution is always self-love.
Right. And
Always.
there's this movement, Doc Leah, over at the United States. There's this movement saying that we shouldn't call it social distancing. We should call it physical distancing, but we should still be
Hmm.
socially connected. So I like what
I
you said
agree.
again. We are social creatures, so we shouldn't accept this as the new normal. And even though
Absolutely.
sometimes it feels like it is hopeless and that we will be forever, I have a sister who's gonna go through college, and it boggles me that she's gonna go through the first 2 years of university here inside the home, inside like the house, and I can't even imagine like, wow, not even experiencing
And
university like that.
that's not the way people are supposed to live. I don't want to abide by that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, me too. We have another question on the comment section over here from Christian Formoso again. He says, how do we love the part of ourselves that we don't like we're too shy or we're falling behind at work? How do we start working on these?
It's love your nature. If you're shy, you're shy. Don't force yourself. Because like what Tals was saying, a person who's shy that we force to speak in front of a room full of people will have trauma. Why would you do that? Right? So, in other words, if you're shy, you're shy, and develop a close knit of friends. All you need is one or two. You don't need a whole barangay. Honor you who you are. Honor your nature. If you're falling behind at work, again, it's just telling me you're not taking care of yourself. Nurture who you are. Be kind to yourself. You know what I'm even going to say? Take a few days off to just sleep and rest and eat what you want, because once you get back, you'll be able to catch up because this will be working again because this is okay. It's self nurturing. And there are no parts about you that you shouldn't like. Shouldn't, I'm not saying that right. Great, my English is already. There are no parts about you that you shouldn't not like.
Right.
Meaning, everything about you ought to be liked by you, including the parts that you're saying is not so. There's nothing wrong with being shy.
Right.
It's just who you are, and accept that.
Yeah. So Christian, take a few days off of work. Show this video to your boss. I need. Doc
Self
Lia Bernardo
care.
said I need a leave. So if you have any problems, talk to Doc Lia. I'm kidding.
Yep, just make sure you deliver when you come back. Yeah.
We also got another comment on Facebook from Dumapak Lulu who said, "This is epic. Thank you so much. We
Oh,
try to
thank you.
be." We try to be as informative and entertaining as possible. And of course, none of this would be possible without Doc Leah. So thank you so much, Doc
Oh,
Leah,
thank you very much.
for
Being
accepting
here.
our invitation. Natalia, do you have any more questions on your end?
Yeah, so what techniques, how do you practice the racing frequency technique? Is it like seeing the bigger picture, or is it,
No,
yeah, what do you do to
no,
race?
it's not macro. It's very micro,
Okay.
and it's um, put in, and again, it's so flexible. Some people do this the first thing in the morning. They do move, learn, grow, create at one go. Other people do movement first, then they grow, and then so it really honors the anomalies, the timelines, the quirks of people. And so the way I do it is I move in the morning after my coffee, because I will not be able to do anything before coffee. So I do the
Same.
movement after coffee.
I I relate. Doc Leah is my spirit animal.
And honor that about yourself. See, if you can't function without coffee, make sure you allot the time for coffee. Like if I have something at 6 in the morning, I will wake up at 4 just to have my coffee and have that time because I honor that time. See, it's honoring parts of yourself. Learn is something you do every day, but before sleeping at night, I write down on my journal what I learned today because I learn something new every day. And
Yeah,
then
I can relate.
grow is meditation, the time you allot for meditation. And then create, that's constant. Like everything around you is a creation.
I can relate.
Got
I
it.
love to journal. Even like my all my
Yeah,
bits, I just journal the sad bits, the happy bits. It taught
nice.
me that. So thank you very much.
Nice. Yes.
Thank you,
We've
Doc
got
Leah.
a comment from June Natividad who says, "Hello, nice conversation, Doc Leah, DJ Ryan, and DJ
Thank
Natalia."
you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Yes. Actually, that being said, can you believe it, you guys? It's already been an hour.
Fast, guys.
We told Doc Leah, this will be 30 to 40 minutes. Bam. On the so as we wind down on this live stream again, we want to thank everybody who joined us. Of course, we want to thank Doc Leah for sharing her wisdom, her energy, her time with us. Before we end the stream, Doc Leah, we always want to end on a positive note. So we always ask our guests to leave our listeners with words of positivity or encouragement, just so that they feel a little bit better. Because again, the campaign is hashtag We Are the One. We want everybody to feel validated. We want everybody to feel included, and of course, we want them to be empowered amidst these trying times. So, Doc Leah, what words of encouragement can you give our listeners?
Do more of what makes you feel good without guilt, without shame. Do more of that, and I promise you will be happier.
Got
Thank
it.
Feels
Thank
good,
you.
do it.
Thank you so much, Doc
Thank
Leah.
you.
Where can people find
you.
you? Where
Thank
can
you so
people follow
much.
you?
Okay, my Instagram is at Lia Bernardo, and my corporate Instagram is at Atma Prama Wellbeing Group. The logo is right below there, so it's a little bit long, but yeah, there's a link on my bio to that. And I give lessons on Insta. I tell people just journal what I teach on Instagram, and you'll be fine.
Thank you, Doc Leah. I understand you also have like a seminar on forgiveness, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there's an on forgiveness seminar that it's an online workshop. I'm going to post it again right after we talk so that it's on top of the page so that they can get more information. And on my bio, there's a link to all the classes that we give. But I highly recommend the on forgiveness workshop because it's a tool that everyone needs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Doc Leah. And
Oh, thank
again,
you for having
thank
me.
you. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in and watched this live stream. This was Neo Retro 1059's first live stream. So what I mean, exciting times. And of course, again, I sound like a broken record at this point, but thank you so much, Doc Leah. Thank you so much for sharing your time, energy, and wisdom with us.
Thank you.
With that being said, I think it's about time for us to end the live stream. Natalia, any last words before we go?
No, just thank you very much for sharing your words of wisdom and giving us techniques. I hope this helps everybody who, needed some, like a reminder to heal and to love yourself. So thank you again so much, Dr. Alia.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Natalia. Thank you,
All right.
Ryan.
Thank you so much, everybody. And with that, this has been Neo Retro 1059's first live stream for the hashtag We Are the One campaign. My name is Ryan, and for my partner Natalia and our guest Doc Leah, thank you so much, everybody, and good night.
Good night.